Well, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you've had some coffee, a little caffeine, prick you up. I just wanted to make a very quick announcement before Dean McFadden starts. Lunchtime today, one of my admissions fellows will be coming in and sort of releasing you in groups to walk over to the union, and it sounds like it's going to be a good lunch, so just kind of follow instructions after this panel's done, okay? And I'm very happy to introduce a really great person here at the law school. How long have you been here, Ann?
A year and a half.
Year and a half, but has made a huge impact on us, faculty, staff, students. They are always the office that has many ounces of coffee and treats to eat. So she is going to moderate our next panel of wonderful alumni. So Dean Ann McFadden, take it away.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you all. So I am going to moderate a panel. We have a wonderful group of alums here, but I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of background about the Career Service Office and about kind of where you can go with your degree from IU Law. So just a little bit about the Career Service Office. We are an office of 6 professionals. I'm the assistant dean, as Janet said. We have 3 directors in our office, and all 4 of us provide one-on-one advising. We call it concierge-style advising to our students. We also have an assistant director and a coordinator in our office, and they help us with all of the aspects of recruiting, so helping get employers on campus to interview students for jobs, doing job postings. We do a lot of programming, and they also help us just with general office management. As Janet suggested, they keep us in coffee and candy and popcorn, so the students have, a little treat at the end of the day. Among the staff in our office, we have experience working, clerking for judges, working in law firms, working for government, working in the public interest, working in international development, and in addition to that, decades of work in higher education and in career services. So you're in very good hands with us if you come here. I want to tell you a little bit about the services that we offer. Like I said, you'll be assigned to an advisor, so there are 4 of us, and each of you will work one-on-one with one of us. And we do this because every student comes to us from a different place. So people may come in knowing exactly what they want to do. People may come in not having any idea what they want to do. So we try to work with you start with you from where you are. And in addition to kind of working one-on-one with you, we do have a lot of expertise built up in our office. So if you're a person who knows that you want to work in IP, if you have an engineering or a science background, you want to work in IP, we have an advisor who kind of specializes in that. If you know that you want to work in government service, you will work with me. So we try to have like that one-on-one with you, but then also have some expertise built up so that we can help you get to where you want to go. We are really lucky at this school because the school has really incorporated the Career Service Office programming into the curriculum. So you'll probably hear about this if you haven't already, but the legal profession class is something that we think is very unique to Indiana law. In your first semester of your first year of law school, you will take a 1 credit hour class, and a lot of that programming is going to be taught by me and by the other folks from the Career Service Office, and we will help you in the classroom, in classroom time that you will get credit for, work on your cover letter, your writing sample, your resume, learn how to network with our alumni network and with other professionals, and help you prepare for interviews. So that way, when the date comes where you can start applying for your summer jobs, you can hit the ground running. We also work really hard to introduce you to a lot of different professionals and a lot of different professional tracks that you can take with your law degree. So we will bring in panels of alums similar to what we're doing today so that you can connect with people who work in a variety of practice areas. We do that during the 1L first semester because that way you are already starting to think about your professional identity and think about what you want to do when you leave here from the very first day. And that helps you look at the rest of your legal career and your legal studies through that lens. So that's something that we're really happy about, and it's something that is very, I think, unique to our school that we offer that. We also do a lot of work with students starting from the beginning of when you get here through the end of your 3L year and beyond when you're alums, helping you practice interviews, helping you connect with people, looking over your application materials so that we can really help you put your best foot forward when you're looking for positions. We're very fortunate because we not only have a robust on-campus interview program here where law firms and government agencies and public interest organizations come to campus, but we also recognize that this is a national law school. Not everybody who comes here is from Indiana. Not everybody who comes here wants to stay in Indiana. So we work really hard to be able to connect you out in the rest of the country. We have an on-location recruiting program in Chicago. That is our second biggest market after Indiana for our graduates. And so we will get you on the ground to connect with law firms and employers in Chicago and interview there. We also support students to go to job fairs across the country, whether they're public interest job fairs, diversity job fairs, patent job fairs, or just general job fairs in Washington, D.C., and New York, and Chicago. We promote and help students get to all of those organizations, all of those places across the country. So I mentioned a little bit about, we are a national law school, obviously. So I want you guys to leave here knowing that no matter where you come from and no matter where you want to go, you can get there from here. One of the best things about our school is that we really do attract people from all across the country and around the world. So about 35 to 40% of our students come from Indiana, but everybody else is from someplace else. And our postgraduate employment is really about the same. About 35 to 40% stay in Indiana, and the rest of our students go all over the world. The class of 2018, for example, they obtained employment in 21 states, the District of Columbia, and 2 foreign countries. So we can get you there from here. And for summer, it's really equally distributed. Don't worry that if you come here that you can't get back to New York or Ohio or wherever it is that you want to go for the summer. We will help you get there. And our postgraduate employment, that's the thing that we get a lot of questions about. We are above the national average for postgraduate employment. The way that it's reported to the American Bar Association is at 10 months post-graduation. And for the class of 2018, which is the last class that we have complete numbers for, we're still collecting for last year's class, we were at 92.3%. And that's, you really can't do very much better than that. And lastly, I want to touch on our alumni network, and then I'll turn it over to our alumni panel. You're going to hear time and time again today and from the people that you talk to about how fantastic our alumni network is, and it truly is. We have people across the country and globally, and they come back to campus. They're available for our students to reach out to, and they're eager to serve as mentors and guides as our students join the legal profession. One thing that is unique, I think, for our school is that we've had alums come to us and say, I just really want to help people get to where I am. So starting this summer, we now have 3 programs across the country, one in New York, which started a couple summers ago, one in Miami, and one in Washington, D.C., where alums are leading students, helping them network while they're there in the summertime, and even helping them find jobs. So really, like I said, if any place that you want to go, we can help you get there, and our alums are key to helping support that effort. Our Young Alumni Steering Committee is really wonderful, and Jenna here is a new member of the Young Alumni Steering Committee. But we also have a lot of different boards that help support our school and help support the dean. So we provide a lot of opportunities for you to connect with them through receptions here on campus, receptions throughout the country. I will be leading a group of students on a spring break trip to Washington, D.C., so that they can connect with a variety of employers. And also, we will be having an alumni reception while we're there. And last year, we had about 70 alums that came to meet with our students and to connect with one another. So things like that we do, and I think that makes us special, and I think that makes us unique. So I'd like to use that to kind of segue into our panel today with our distinguished alums that we have here. To the far right, my far right, your far left, we have Jenna Hafey, who graduated just last year. She's from Ohio, and she is an associate at Dinsmore & Scholl in Cincinnati. And she was very, very engaged and involved while she was here in school. She was involved in the Inmate Legal Assistance Project. A lot of these things you guys are going to learn about later today from the other students. Outreach for Legal Literacy. She was an admissions fellow. She was on the Law and Social Equality Journal. Which clinic were you on? The Community Legal Clinic. So tons and tons of things. Did a lot of different externships during her time here. And so, yeah, we're happy to welcome her back. And then we have Gustavo Jimenez, who is from California, but is now in Indiana, working in Indianapolis at Faegre, Drinker, Biddle, and Reith as an associate. And he was also extremely involved here in Order of the Barrister, right? He did basically all the moot courts that there were to do, and he was very successful in all of them. Also was on the Global Legal Studies Journal, Protective Order Project, Labor and Employment Law Society, lots of different organizations. And then here next to him, we have Allison Schwartz, who is a graduate of 2015 from New York, and she is working in Washington, D.C. at the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Again, another very involved student when she was here. here, was the editor-in-chief of the Law and Social Equality Journal. She did moot court, and did a lot of other different other organizations here. And she also clerked before she joined the Justice Department. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to turn it over to our panel and ask them a few questions, but then there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions too, whether if you want to ask them of the panelists or if you want to ask them of me. But let's go ahead and get started. So I guess we'll start with Jenna. Could you start off by telling us what made you decide to come to law school here?
Yeah, so as she said, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I took time off, so I knew that when I came back to school, I needed it to fit. So I did a admitted student stay like y'all did, and it really felt right. Like, I know people say, like, you'll feel it when you feel it, and I felt it here. I got in contact with a lot of the other students that went to admitted student stay after, and we talked about where all we were looking at, what we wanted to do. And I knew that I probably wouldn't stay in Indiana, but I knew IU gives those opportunities to be in the Midwest or in the South, which I was looking at both areas. So I knew this just kind of fit. And there was a lot of opportunities. I was a teacher before I came to law school, so I knew I also wanted to do something like a minor, and I did a minor here in educational policy studies, and I loved it. So there's a lot of opportunities here that you'll learn about today, and I just knew it fit.
Thank you, Jenna. Gustavo, can I ask you the same question? Why did you decide to come here?
So like Dean McFadden said, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I was born and raised there, lived there my whole life, but knew I wanted to come out to the Midwest for law school because this is where I wanted to practice. So just a matter of like where, what Midwestern state I was going to end up in. I did a lot of visiting IU in Bloomington. It really felt like home, talking to other students, talking to the staff and the faculty here. It really is a community, and that's something that you're going to hear, throughout the day. And we're all here for a reason. Like we're invested in the school, we care, so we're happy to serve as resources for you moving on and as you make your decisions. And one of the other reasons, as Dean McFadden said, I had no ties to Indiana when I chose to come here, so it was a matter of also having the potential to eventually move back to California, where my whole family is, if I wanted to. And I knew a degree from IU would get me there, if I decided to take the California bar later on and go back. And the last reason why was because IU has a special program called the Milton Stewart Fellowship Program, which I don't know how many of you are familiar with, but I'm happy to talk about it later on. But they send about like 25 first-year students to different countries around the world where you can, practice. And during my first summer, I ended up working at the largest firm in Argentina for 10 weeks. So that was something really unique that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else.
Thank you. Allison?
I guess this is my own mic, which is wonderful. So I have to first start off by just saying I do work for the Justice Department, but I'm here in my personal capacity, and these are my own views. Being a lawyer means I have to say lawyer things a lot. But for that, you know that I'm here speaking on my own behalf, but also that IU didn't pay me to come here. So I'm going to give you honest and frank answers. I chose to come to IU. I encourage you all to do this while you decide which law school to go to. Make a list, like a really type A list. Like, what courses do I want to take? What projects do I want to be part of? What areas am I interested in? What faculty can help support me get there? And when I made that list, IU had all the check boxes. And also, something we want to highlight on is that there's a small student base. There's about 180 kids in my class, right? You become lifelong friends with those people, and they also help with you connections. And if you want to have opportunities, you're not cutthroat fighting for them. There's more here than you ever want. So, up on that.
Very good. Yeah, thank you very much. So we talked a little bit about kind of why you decided to come here. Once you're here, can you talk to us about what things IU provided you that helped you get to where you are today in your job? And we'll start. Why don't we start, Allison, and we'll go this way this time.
Do I keep moving this back and forth? Or,
what do you say?
Do you want me to keep moving it back and forth?
I think
I'm naturally loud since I'm from New York, so let me know if you can't hear me. I just think I'm always loud. Okay, great. What was your question again?
The question is sort of what are the resources that you tapped into while you were here that helped you get to where you are now in your job?
Sure, so many. So first I tapped into speaking with professors. When you read cases, you learn about the type of plaintiffs that are filing these cases, right? I'm interested in civil rights law, as you can imagine. So I talked to professors that taught those courses. I also did a lot of projects, a lot of student organizations, a lot of opportunities to show your leadership skills as well as your legal research and writing, moot court as well.
Yeah, just echoing off of, the what Allison just said with moot court. Like, there's so many opportunities to get hands-on like legal experience, and the school has done a really good job of supporting those opportunities. So aside from the school hosting its own internal moot court competition that you can participate as second-year students, a lot of third-year students will go out and seek out other moot court opportunities. So I ended up flying to New York with one of the admissions fellows, Dana Moon, who I don't know how many of you guys have met her, but we both competed in the National Labor and Employment Moot Court competition last year. And aside from that, just tapping into professors who are leaders in the field that you're interested in, getting to know them. Professors are very open to having lunch with you, having coffee, having their open door policies. So a lot of it is just becoming a leader and opportunity and engaging in various student organizations.
Yeah, I definitely co-sign what both of them said. I found IU to, like I said, I did a minor, which is like a lot of law schools don't do that. So I got to work with the School of Education. I loved it. And then I also used a lot of the intern and externship opportunities. So during the school year, IU offers a lot. Obviously, we're right by Indy. So I went 2 days a week to the United States Track and Field Legal Department. And that's a big thing that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do if I wasn't at IU. And I also worked for a judge over the summer. So there's so many opportunities here. You just have to figure out which ones to take because there is a lot of them. But I think, like with career services, they really hone in. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I either wanted to do sports or go to a firm or go public interest. And I found out every summer like where I wanted to eventually end up. And that helped a lot.
That's a good segue, Jenna. I wanted to ask you guys to talk a little bit about the jobs that you did during the summer or the externships that you did during the school year and kind of your career path. I know the two of you have just graduated just in May, but talk a little bit about kind of your in-school career path to get you to where you are now. So Gustavo, we can start with you, and then we'll go Allison and then Jenna.
Okay, so my first summer I ended up working in a firm in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and that was a great experience just to kind of get my feet wet and see what working in a large firm is like. During my second year, I was an judicial extern for Justice Goff of the Indiana Supreme Court, so that was really good to kind of get experience in Indianapolis and meet attorneys there, meet law clerks there, and kind of get to know the justices for our state's highest court. And then my second year summer, I worked at the City of Carmel Department of Law, so I got some hands-on experience stepping in the courtroom on my own, doing legal proceedings for small claims, and then prosecuting city ordinance violations in Carmel. And throughout law school, so now I end up practicing labor and employment law, which is what I wanted to do. And I took 2 years off in between undergrad and law school, and during that time I worked at a small employment law firm, so that's kind of where I got my interest in labor and employment law. And so even though the jobs I had during law school didn't really have a heavy employment law focus, everything I did in terms of the activities I engaged in school, the professors I connected with, and the classes I took, I tailored it all towards labor and employment.
Oh, it's nice. Yes, great. Thinking back, since I feel old, 2015.
2015.
So I'll start back at 1L. After 1L summer, I worked at a nonprofit in D.C. My 2L year, I went to Chicago at the ACLU. And then my third year, I served as an extern for a federal district court judge in Indianapolis. And then during my third year, I was also part of the Protective Order Project, where I got to go ahead and represent clients under the supervision of a professor here in court seeking protective orders. I say that to all those experiences to say I went to many different cities. I tried out a lot of things that I liked, things I didn't like. That's how you kind of really hone in on what you want to do. But I never got the question, why do you want to come from Indiana to go to D.C. or go to Chicago? I really got the question, why do you want to be here and do this job? And having an answer to that is really what you develop here at this law school. And then I did graduate. After I graduated, I clerked for the appellate division in New York State, up in Albany, and then I went through the Attorney General's Honors Program and was hired into the Justice Department.
My first summer, I was with a judge in Cincinnati at the Southern District of Ohio. During my second year, that's when I was with USATF. And like I told you, I had no idea what I wanted to do, so don't think you need to know now. So the opportunities are here. So I did that, and then my second summer, I was at Dinsmore & Shoal as a summer associate, and then I ended up going there. I'm doing something I completely didn't think I'd do at Dinsmore and Shoal. I do false claims act work, and I love it. So just don't be nervous if you don't know what you want to do. There's a lot of things that open itself up, and I know eventually I either want to be a juvenile court judge or go into sports. But for now, this is good, and just make sure you are very open to the process.
Thank you. So I think it would be helpful for the students to know a little bit about sort of your practice and kind of what a day or a week in the life looks like in your practice area. Allison, can we start with you?
Sure. So part of the Civil Rights Division, I'm in the Educational Opportunities section, which means we are a litigating component, and we enforce affirmative federal civil rights laws as well as the case law that supports enforcement of those actions. So my day-to-day is really hit or miss. I don't know exactly what I'm walking into some weeks. So we have national jurisdiction. So I am across the country doing site visits, which means I visit schools and institutes of higher education. There on site, we do interviews of school personnel. So that could be a whole week in Louisiana, a whole week in Texas. I could be doing a site visit in California. You really just have to hit the ground running often. But when I'm not across the country, I'm in the office. Doing that is a lot of document review. So reading in law school only gets worse. You read more as you're an attorney. In addition to that, I do a lot of expert engagement. As an attorney, you have to learn your expert's background, and you take different areas of law. I need to be trained by my experts often. And finally, that good old legal research and writing. Lots of writing and lots of reading.
So I am in the Labor and Employment Practice Group. I represent management interests in both like union and non-union settings. So this includes helping employers navigate any claims related to unlawful termination, employment discrimination, allegations of unfair labor practices, and my day-to-day is, I don't know what I'm going to do every day just because as a first-year associate, we're kind of expected to do whatever comes up. So this includes, conducting research. If a client calls a partner or a senior associate and has a specific question that, the answer might not be so easy to answer, then, we conduct research and try to figure out how we can advise the client to make sure that they're complying with all federal and state standards. A lot of it includes, drafting the initial position statements, both for the National Labor Relations Board and then for the EEOC, document review, like Allison said. And there's a lot of learning that goes on. You learn kind of the basics in law school, but even as a practicing attorney, there's still so much that I don't know, even in this field. And so every day is just kind of, I don't know what to expect. I just walk in and then hope for the best.
I echo what Gustavo said. I'm in commercial lit, but I'm in a subset where I do false claims work, so we represent clients against whistleblower actions, and every day is a new day. So we get, like first years, we get everything. So I've actually had client contact. I've been to a couple depositions. Just anything and everything is thrown at us as a first year, so it's nice and scary at the same time. But every day is different, which I love. I'm never just doing one thing the whole day. So they'll call us and tell us to do whatever, and we'll do it. You really can't say no as a first year. So if they call you and want you to do something, you say, yeah, sure, even if you're not sure. So you figure it out. And IU really does help you, like legal research and writing. Like when you guys take that class, wherever you end up, hopefully it's here. That is amazing. That's what sets you apart from other first-year associates, and that's what partners really look at your writing. That's because they don't know you. They know your writing before they kind of know you as a person. So make sure you take that class super serious, because that I found out, like from partners, that's what sets first-year associates from the other first-year associates. So yeah, every day is wild, but it's fun.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys one more question, and then I want to open it to the audience for questions. So give your best pitch from a careers perspective why these students should decide to come here.
You guys want me to go first?
Okay.
Any takers?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So like I said, I took time off. So I knew that when I was coming to law school, like this is what I wanted to do, and I knew where I had to be would fit. I knew I needed to go to a school that would open me opportunities to be in other areas and states, because I didn't want to stay necessarily in IU. And Indiana, but IU did that for me. I made sure to make connections. The professors here are amazing. When I say that they're amazing, that's how I got my job. So speak to all the professors. They're super intelligent, which is very intimidating, but they have an open door policy here. That's a real thing. The professors, the students are amazing. I work with, it's weird because my firm has said the past 2 or 3 years, they've hired 3 to 4 people from IU because they've never looked at IU as much as they have the past couple years. So we really put out students that a lot of people want. So I knew that was a big thing because when I went to my firm, when I graduated, there's 3 of us, which is a lot from IU going to Cincinnati. And also just the vibe here is different. It's collegial. I never felt like someone was going to rip out pages of a textbook the day before I was cold called. I'm best friends with most of the people I met, and I love it. So IU was home for me, and I had a great time. And it's law school, so you're going to have scary instances. It's going to stink sometimes, but IU made it where I didn't feel like I was questioning why I went to law school.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything that Jenna said, and, this degree is very portable. As someone from California, I feel confident that in like 10, 20 years, if I wanted to go back there, I don't think I will, but if I did, I feel like I could definitely go back. And not just, for someone from California, but even, I don't know how many of you are from like the surrounding Midwestern states, but you can feel confident that if you come to IU, that you can definitely get back to whether that's Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, and that you're going to have a good alumni network there who's willing to engage and connect with you, and even the alumni network that you'll create during your 3 years in law school. We're all willing to meet with you. At least I am. Being closer in Indianapolis. Like if you end up here, like feel free to give me a call and we can go for lunch or coffee. And that extends to other alumni throughout the country as well.
Piggybacking off of both what you said, I try to think about your skill sets and what you're going to be presenting to employers in 4 buckets. The first is your leadership skills, your presentation skills, legal research and writing, and then your just personality, right? Your ability to communicate with others and connect with people across the country, and that tends to fall down into like your interviews or your deposition skills, right? At IU, I felt like I was able to build skills in each of those buckets. And find my interest area and then develop it further. So not only from the support of alumni and teachers, it wasn't just what I wanted to do, but how would I do that and how would I get there? So I really encourage you to look at all the programming options you'll have for that. And then the last thing I'll say is coming from New York, it was difficult to come to IU where it's not a huge city. But law school will change you no matter what. If it doesn't change you, you're not doing it, right? To be quite honest with you. It'll reshuffle everything about you, and you want to be in a community in which you can feel safe and supported in doing so. And also, I always have severe FOMO. I see parents in the audience, so I'll say fear of missing out. And being in Bloomington, you have so many options to do things, like to go out and to have fun, and also to join many organizations, but you don't have that pressure of a big city. Then, like, maybe I'm missing out on, going downtown and doing 10,000 other things. You're able to really dedicate yourself to your studies because you really, no matter where you go, you need to do that. So there's my pitch.
Thank you very much. All right, so we have about 10 minutes until we're going to dismiss for lunch. So I would love to get some questions from the audience, either for the panelists or for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Quick question. So I think it was Jenna mentioned about how you didn't exactly know what kind of law you were going to and everything.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so you guys talked about like the external kind of aspects to help you decide where you wanted to be, whether it was like internships, externships, etc. I'm kind of wondering internally within Indiana, like within the school of professors, how they help guide you to knowing what kind of law you wanted to enter.
Yeah, I can take that because I think I was the most clueless about what I wanted to do. So obviously your first year, you don't get to pick your classes. There's a subset. So that's not really a year, like you're basically just trying to like make it work with those classes. But after that, you can start trying to hone in on what classes you want to take. So Gustavo actually is in labor and employment, and that's what I thought I wanted to do just with like a class I took. Like I really enjoyed the professor. I like enjoyed what we learned about. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll do that. And then when I did stuff with the judge, I kind of decided, oh, I don't want to do that. So once after your first year, you can really kind of pick what classes you take, and that's what I did. I kind of strategically did that to like, either figure out what I wanted to do or what I didn't want to do. And then I talked to the professors with those classes that I was interested in, like sports and entertainment law. I took that class as well. I loved it, but I knew maybe I want to do that down the road. And like professors will help you know like what is here for now, and then what is better for when you're kind of a seasoned lawyer, and what could be a better path for that. So yeah, definitely taking classes and then talking to the professors that you're interested in their classes after the first year.
Yeah, and part of that is in your classes you can take a seminar. I think you have to take one to graduate. And with that, you write a really lengthy paper. You're going to spend hours bleeding your eyes out to write it. But the professors guide you in writing that, and you can use that as a note for publication on journal, which is a great thing to have. That's when you really develop an interest set, right, through that process. But also, why am I blanking on law school? I really blocked a lot of it out until I came here today. I'm sorry. So yeah, so your journal note as well as your seminar, and then also there's directed reading. So you're able to take a course with a professor for a credit, and you can pretty much build what you want to learn about. So I wanted to learn about desegregation schools, North versus the South. So I was able to really talk about my hometown from a legal perspective, which was definitely an experience I recommend everyone to do.
And just sort of from the perspective of the career service office, that's our job. Like that's one of the things that we help you do. So we have a lot of resources. And when I mentioned the career choices panels, we're bringing in people who work in law firms one day. We're bringing in people who work in public interest another day. We're bringing in people who work in all different kinds of areas so that you can hear them talk about what their careers are and see what is of interest to you. And then also one of the requirements for the legal profession class is that you have to do a series of informational interviews. So we will help you identify attorneys that you might want to talk to, and you might listen to them and say, well, what do you do all day? Oh, that doesn't sound fun to me at all. And so it helps you kind of tick off, like, what are the things that maybe aren't of interest to me. So I think in addition to what you can get from the professors and from all of the classes that you take, that's one of the things that we're paid to do, is to help you make that choice. So did you have a question, too?
Oh, yeah. So I know, like, the Alumni Network has been talking about a lot, but I'd like to hear about your guys' experience with it both in law school and afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah, so in law school, I was able to call people that either were the years before me or current law students who had the jobs I already wanted to have, which was definitely helpful. And then after law school, so I clerked for 2 years, and then I had to look for a new job, right, because my clerkship ended. And I was able to just call one of my deans, who I still was in contact with, and just ask, how do I get ready for this job interview? I have no idea how what do I say at the Department of Justice, right? And she put me in contact with 3 professors who I didn't have their classes, they didn't know me, but they worked at DOJ beforehand, and they were talking to me throughout the whole process. One professor even mailed me a book from Amazon to read before my interview, like the kindest soul ever. So you definitely have a lot of support through professors, but also people that they'll recommend down the pipeline.
And I send people to Allison now.
Yeah.
So when students want to work in civil rights or in D.C. or at DOJ, she's very kind and always takes those calls.
Full circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even after, even as alumni, you can still connect. And one of the easiest way to connect is just, go to like an employer's website, and then you can filter out by like law school. So then, you choose Mauer, and then it'll show you who's working there, and you can easily like send an email, call them, tell them that you're a law student here now, and that you are just interested in what they do. And if you're ever, in Indianapolis or wherever you're from, or Chicago, New York, Ohio, reach out during those breaks and make the effort and make the time to network with them and get coffee and lunch with them.
And to co-sign both of those, Career Services, my 2 summers, I made sure to get a list. They have lists of all the alumni in cities. So I got the list for Cincinnati and basically just called people. And they're very willing, because they're on the alumni list. So I think they have to say they want to be on it or something. Or no? Yeah? Okay, well, all of them were very receptive, so that's why I assumed, you probably told them about themselves. But no, they all answered, and I got coffee, and that's literally how I really think that's how I got my interview at Densmore. One of the alumni was at Densmore, and he put in a good word, so that it really helps. And I'm on the Young Alumni Steering Committee. I'm just got on it 2 weeks ago, and so I know we throw receptions in Cincinnati for alumni, and then students, IU students can come, but it's usually geared towards UC and Xavier students in Northern Kentucky.
I saw a question up here. Yes.
So maybe it's a contradiction, but I want to be a lawyer, but I'm slightly terrified of public speaking and face-to-face confrontation, like maybe you see in movies.
do you know I'm also terrified about speaking in public? It's amazing. It's like you see me. So you'll work on it a lot in law school, but I'm trying to think, how much time do I spend outside of my office? It's a skill set that you'll develop. Don't think that just because you felt that way today sitting in this room that will be your field forever. You will sometimes still stumble. I still stumble, as you've all witnessed. But you'll definitely develop that skill set. I think your direct question was, how much time do I spend talking in public? Probably more than my boss wants me to. But I would say at least 2 weeks of the month, or every 6 to 8 weeks, I'm in public speaking.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of it will depend on what practice area you end up in. You know, if you end up doing criminal law, you're going to be in the courtroom a lot, especially early on in your career. You know, if you're in like a big law firm, then that'll be different because most of your interaction will be with other senior associates or with partners, and then the occasional, you know, FaceTime with clients. But outside of that, it'll kind of be more internal than external. So a lot of it will depend on your interests and then what ultimately you end up practicing.
Yeah, I agree. And like with the law degree, you can kind of pick, like if you don't like public speaking, you can pick an area that probably doesn't have that much. Like I know I'm a first year, so we get client contact, but not a lot, so we're not in the confrontation. But we can also pick to do CLEs and speak. So if that helps, that's what I like, because I'm not really good at public speaking because I ramble. But sorry, but so I have put myself out there to do things that make me feel more comfortable and well-versed in public speaking. It's not a feeling you'll have forever.
So everyone says that law school changed you, but in what ways exactly does law school change you?
You learn new vocabulary words like, well, that's just not dispositive when you're arguing with someone, you know.
You look at the world completely different, right? So you'll take torts your first semester, and then you'll just see like, oh my goodness, that's a spill, a broken leg, and a lawsuit down that corner. Like, it'll go away eventually. You won't be scared of spills anymore. But it changes you fundamentally, how you view the world, how you interact with other people. I can sit now, almost 5 years out, and say positively it changes you. While you're going through that process, it's painful, to be quite honest with you. But it builds you to be a stronger person. It builds you to be more compassionate, to care more. I'm happier.
Yeah, I think it's like a brand new, you know, language that you're going to learn all around. And it takes time, you know, and some people it clicks sooner than, you know, it does with others. So, you know, just you're not going to be in this alone, and just remember that everyone is learning all of this for the first time. So don't let what other people say, especially the first couple of weeks of class, intimidate you, because you're all in the same boat. And it'll take time as you go through it. And you know, it's you're going to be a leader in, you know, the legal field. So just remember that and have that as your motivation going forward. And then lastly, you know, when you watch TV shows like SVU, you know that a lot of things that they're doing in court is not right.
Yeah, it ruins your favorite shows. So it really does. And like they both said, you kind of like figure out who you are. I know people, that's so cliche, but like law school is rough, and I'm going to put it out there, it's rough. And you really figure out who you are as a person and what you want to do through these 3 years. And so I think 5 years out, you say it's positive. I look back on it positively even after I just took the bar, which I think my law school experience was positive, but you really will find out like who you are in law school, because it is a different beast, and it's an amazing experience, but you will figure out what you want to do and who you want to be through these 3 years.
So I think do we need to go? Okay, I think we have to wrap up now because Janet we have a few more minutes? Okay, we can take one more question. Yes? Uh-huh.
How would you describe your work-life balance now that you're into your careers? Do you find yourself consistently working long hours to the point where it affects your relationships with friends?
Going right to the bone.
I had a harder time in law school, to be honest. It was because, thankfully, the firm I'm at, and you'll figure this out at firms, if you're looking at firms or wherever you're looking at, but I know firms for the most part, like work-life balance is something you don't hear of, but the firm I'm at, I have a work-life balance, and they really tell you, like, calm down. Because we're first years, we do not know kind of what we're doing. So I found it to be an easier work-life balance just my first year than law school was. It was really hard for me for law school to not just read all the time and study because, like Gustavo said, you really don't know what you're doing or reading when you're your first year. So work-life balance with work right now is great. Like I was telling Gustavo, this week I've pulled like a couple 10-hour days, but that's not normal. This was my first time, and I don't work on the weekends that much. But you can choose how much work and life you do, and I choose, and my firm's okay with that. So I think it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, even while you're in law school, you have to find, whatever it is that interests you or whatever hobby you have and stick to it and make sure you incorporate that into, your day-to-day. And, my work-life balance is great. I am able to still, go to the gym 4 times a week. I call my family, twice a week, catch up with them. I'm able to, do whatever I want on the weekends, and it's been great so far.
Yeah. So I will say some things and also disagree in some other ways. So sometimes if you're in the middle of something pressing for work, you will be, depending on where you're at, you may be doing 12 hours days, right? And that's something that you have to prepare for mentally. But when you're passionate about something and you're in the right place, those 12 hours are still 12 hours, but they're 12 worthwhile hours, right? But aside from that, day to day, I do have a great work-life balance. I'm able to telework 2 days a week, which is amazing. I don't have to get dressed and leave my place, which is nice. But also, just with technology, I think it's easier to work different hours and come in late, stay later, and just like TMI for everybody here, my family's still in New York, and my grandmother had a really bad fall and needed me to go back to New York, and my job was super understanding, letting me work from New York and being able to be there for my family at the same time. So I think people are more attuned to the fact that being a lawyer doesn't mean that has to be your entire existence.
And I'll just kind of go off of that. I practiced for 15 years before I came here, and different employers are different, but I think things are really changing. So when I was a young associate at a big firm, there was no concept of telework. There was no concept of working from home. You did not do that. You had FaceTime in the office. It's very different now. In the panels that we had over the fall semester, we had a lot of people from different law firms, and every single one of them talked about the flexibility that is now available because of technology. So that has a good side and a bad side, right? Because it means that you're on, because you've got your work computer in your pocket at all times, but there is a lot more flexibility allowed. So there's certain jobs that will not have that. If you were working for a judge as a clerk for 1 year, you're it's just all out, flat out work for a year, but that's the nature of the job, and it's going to be over in a year. But I think that the things are changing now. There's a lot more flexibility, and I think employers recognize that that's something that people want. So I do think we have to go now because we have our fellows are gathered in the back to lead you to lunch. So thank you to our panel for being here. And we will all be at the lunch, so if you guys can grab us at lunch or grab us at the reception later this afternoon if you have any more questions about career stuff. So thank you all for being here.